Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I've recovered, I've just about recovered. So we're back, it's a new week on the channel. Let's kickstart things off with a little bit of a recap of the weekend and the season in general. It's the end of 21-22, which is kind of sad in a way. What a roller coaster it's been. I think we're all kind of happy that the heart rate on monitors can all go away and we can get on with things. But I'm buzzing for next season already. Now, before we go any further with the video, please make sure to go down below and hit like and subscribe, all that good stuff. We are very, very close. I think about 40 subscribers away as of recording to 34,000. So it would be mad if you could go down there and get that hit over the next couple of days to celebrate the end of the 21-22 campaign. So I like using my hands a lot in the videos and throwing them up on camera. And if you notice cuts everywhere, that is... yeah, don't worry, not been fighting, didn't get levered at the weekend. Well, certainly not physically levered, but let's say the alcohol levered me. I took a bit of a tumble, quite a tumble I should say, in the town. If you bumped into me at the weekend, number one, I'm sorry, because I was in a hell of a state. And number two, it was a pleasure to meet you. From what I can remember, everybody that I spoke to, got photos with and everything at the weekend. Yeah, I don't remember a lot, and that is why I've got cuts over my hand, cuts over my legs, and surprisingly, a functioning head, because that should be gone. But here we are. It's time to lay off the drink, I think. But we're here. It was a really good weekend. Listen, this sort of video is more of a recap of the season and everything in general, and a bit more of an upbeat, cheery one. So I don't want to be too negative and talk about my misfortunes, but the weekend just perfectly encapsulated everything that this season has been for Celtic and Celtic supporters. That release at the weekend, realising that we have been crowned champions of Scotland once again. There's nothing quite like it. And the scenes in the Merchant City and Celtic Park across Glasgow of sheer jubilation in Celtic supporters was fantastic. And you know, we missed football for a long time. You know, we missed a full season out of the grounds. We never got to go and watch our team. We never got to celebrate anything either because, well, we were quite frankly garbage. And to jump right back into it and pick up where we left off as champions of Scotland, you couldn't write it this season. You really couldn't. After where we were placed at the beginning of the season, after where we were looked at by the opposition, by the media, to come against all of those odds and then now walk away with champions. The weekend was well deserved for Celtic fans. We had a great time, a great party, a good few drinks, and I would relive it all over again. It was a brilliant day on Saturday, one of my favourite days in following Celtic in my 22 years of life. I was absolutely buzzing with it, and hopefully we're just going to get better and better and build on that atmosphere and that feeling next season. I want to touch on the game at the weekend on Saturday. As you know, I've not really made any content. I put up a sort of match day vlog yesterday. You can check that out if you like. It was just basically my view of the game and the celebrations. I was not in the correct state to make any videos this weekend. I sort of treated it as a weekend off, if you like. Well deserved after a long 21-22 of making videos. But I've not really had the chance to speak. But that there at the weekend, we ended the way we started. We remember that video that was released at the start of the season when Ange Postecoglou first came to Celtic. The quote, the phrase that we've been saying all season, we never stop. And right up until the last kick of the ball on Saturday, with the league already won, with the title already waiting to be lifted, with everything secure, we never stopped. You know, scoring overhead kicks in the last minute of the game and everything, you know, unbelievable scenes. Honestly, this team is something special, and that performance at the weekend, yes, I know it's the last game of the season. Motherwell weren't exactly at their best. They weren't exactly playing like they had an awful lot to play for. But just the way we went into the game, the way we started it through the first half, the way we finished it in the second half, you know, we looked as though we could go up another level with this Celtic side at the moment, and that's the scary thing. You know, the fact that we are just getting started. Now, I know that there's a European final to be played on Wednesday, and Rangers are in that European final, which is obviously an achievement in its own. But if I was a Rangers fan, domestically speaking, I would be worried for next season. Because Celtic are just getting started. This is only the beginning of the Ange Postecoglou project. The era is still kind of, we're seeing Rogic and Beaton leaving the club. We're still very much in the process of a new era at Celtic, and we've already started it with a double, a league title and the League Cup. That's unbelievable to start with. Ange Postecoglou probably himself is stunned at the success and the leaps and the bounds we've came on from the start of this season. Of course, he's trusted every single player. He's trusted the supporters and pushing all of those players. He's been very vocal on that. But I think that everybody involved with Celtic, fans, staff, players, will all be saying to themselves, wow, this wasn't meant to happen. This has exceeded all of our greatest expectations for this season. So the fact that is on the opening season of Ange Postecoglou's tenure, I would be very worried if I was another one of these teams in Scotland as to where we can go. We're only going to get better. We're only going to sign other players and improve on our team and improving our style. And we can be dominating this country for years to come again. And of course, that's the risk of making videos like this and making statements like that. It could all very much come back and hit me in the face. It could be nonsense. Next year, Rangers could go and win a treble for all I know. That's the beauty of being on YouTube. In hindsight, if it was a thing, it would be a wonderful world we live in. But it's just, judging off the evidence we've been presented this season, and as I said, terrific achievement for Rangers reaching a European final. I'm not going to take that away from them. But domestically, there's been one team in Scotland this season, I feel. I know there's that Scottish Cup final to come, but Celtic have been very, very good. And yeah, Ange Postecoglou at the end of the game, his quotes, his speech to the stadium, everything, it gets you buzzing. It gets the blood pumping for next season. This is only the beginning. This could be a good run for Celtic coming up. We're going to be doing the podcast tonight, which means I'll get to dive into the season in general and kind of cover everything in regards to my thoughts now at the end and all of that. We'll have a good kind of in-depth conversation, so make sure to check out that podcast tomorrow. But very quickly, my end of season general thoughts was next on the notes, and I'm just honestly in disbelief. It was like a lump in my throat. I wasn't crying, I would say, but there was definitely a hint of emotion there when we were lifting that trophy on Saturday, because it wasn't meant to happen. It was just a kind of pipe dream that we would actually do this, and to see that kind of pipe dream realised, to see it be actually achieved in front of your eyes, it hits you in a certain way. So, I could go through every month and talk about this, that, and the next thing, which we'll do in the podcast tonight. But, the fact was, we were behind Rangers by quite a bit not long ago. It's been a very quick season. It's flew in. And yet here we are, champions of Scotland. I honestly can't quite believe it's happened. And everybody in the team, and especially that manager, Ange Postecoglou, they deserve every ounce of credit available to them, because they've worked so hard, they've proved everybody wrong, and they've worked and deserved where they are. There's no such thing as luck. This isn't about a Celtic side who are lucky to win titles or not deserving of this title. This isn't a Celtic side who've got here by fluke, by crook, by whatever you like. This is a Celtic team who's worked very, very hard and are and nothing short of deserving of winning this league title. They're the best team in Scotland, and that was realised at the weekend when we lifted the league trophy high. I wish Ryland was there to present it though, that would have been nice. As always, every year I always go back and I look at and I react to what I predicted for the league table this season, and usually I dedicate a whole video to it in itself, but I'm going to just kind of dance through it this year. I'm going to look at what I did predict at the start of the season. I feel like that'll be a nice sort of look back, a nice sort of reaction, because we could have got things very wrong, and I think we did get things very wrong. This could be the worst year I've ever had for predictions, and that's worse than the Shane Duffy year. That's worse than the year that I predicted Celtic to win 10 in a row and it was clipped and memed everywhere. Notice how that didn't happen this year. Weirdly. I actually don't remember on one occasion this year being clipped or memed. Maybe the David Martindale one at one point. But it's funny that, isn't it? It's funny. Hopefully that stays the same. So I done a two-parter this year because if you remember rightly, I got CJ Novo, Rangers fan, on the channel to discuss Celtic and Rangers win the title, which is a fun video in itself because, a lot of things were said by both of us that have probably backfired just a little bit. As I said, Celtic weren't meant to win this title. It wasn't logical. It wasn't possible for the majority of folk, and that included myself. So this was what I went for. You can already see what an absolute disaster. This is easily the worst season I have ever had ever in terms of league predictions. You'd think I'd know nothing about football. That's up to you to decide. I probably don't know anything about football. However, this one is truly embarrassing this year. But one thing that I will say, and this isn't to try and excuse myself or make myself look better, I think this was going to be one of the hardest and weirdest years of football I've ever seen, and that is true. I think coming out of COVID, we didn't really know what to expect, and we didn't know how things would change from closed-door football. You look at St Johnstone, for example, they won a cup double last season. This year, they still could get relegated. I had them up at 5th. I think that this year was all about a weird sort of adjustment that a lot of teams were going to have to come to. And then obviously a lot of players leaving, coming and going at different clubs and managers changing. It felt like a real restart in football, in Scotland anyway. That's what I got the vibe of it right at the start of the season, because we knew that the Celtic era of dominance was kind of over. Well, it started again already, but I mean, it was over. Rangers had won the league. COVID was just coming out. Fans were coming back. It was a real sort of change in the landscape of Scottish football, I thought. So it made it a really hard year to kind of predict. And yeah, I know I sound like I'm making excuses, but here we are. Let's have a look very quickly then. 12th, I had Ross County. They finished top half. They literally finished in the top half. Ross County. A team who I destined was thought to go down with Malky Mackay. Nearly ended up getting European football. Wow. Crazy. Dundee, I wasn't far off, to be fair. Dundee, I think, was one of the easiest ones to predict. They would have been down in that direction. Why I thought they'd have a better season than Ross County, I don't know. Granted, this was long before Mark McGee was in the fold, who's now gone from Dundee, so that's kind of taken a quick turn. Motherwell had it 10th. European football. To be honest with you, quite easily, if it wasn't for the opening half of the season, Motherwell could have been 10th. And minging 2022 thus far. And to be honest, Graham Alexander probably on a very shaky peg. 3 wins, I think, in the entirety of 2022. It might have went up now. No, it's not, because we pumped them 6-0. That is embarrassing. So they very much could have been in the bottom half. But the opening half of the season got them into the top half. And now they're going on a European tour. Whether fans are on side with the manager or not at the moment, they've done it, so fair enough. Livingston, I don't think I was far off with Livingston, actually. I did think that they would have a little bit of a slip this season. Where did they actually end up finishing? They finished 7th, okay. But I got them in the bottom half, I suppose. That's not too bad, and hopefully it stays like that. Keep them down there. Don't want to play in that plastic park twice a year. Hearts at 8th. I didn't think they would get into the top half and they'll return to the top flight. Just got to be honest. And Robbie Nielsen has done fantastic. They finished 3rd. They're going into European group stage football next season. They're in a Scottish Cup final. They've had a fantastic season, simply put. I can't take any of that away from them. Dundee United had 7th, also in the bottom half. Also going on a European tour. I had a fucking howler. When you look at what I had as the top half, right? I'm not going to even sugarcoat things. The majority of people would have had a top half that looked like mine. They would have had Aberdeen, Hibs and St Johnstone there after, the seasons they had last year and things that were going on and changes and players and signings and this, that, the next thing. A lot of people would have had that. Let's be real. Let's be honest. A lot of people would have been thinking to themselves, yeah, Aberdeen, Hibs. Yeah, definitely. What a horrendous season for both sides. Managerial changes left, right and centre. We've seen Jack Ross get sacked. Sean Maloney came in. He got sacked 5 minutes later. Now they're in a bit of a weird purgatory where we don't know what's happening with them. Aberdeen, they brought in Stephen Glass. The data showed he was a good manager. The data then showed he had to be sacked. They're now with Jim Goodwin, who's probably on a shaky peg as well. Both clubs in a right mess. And I'm not saying you don't love to see it, but it's a bit of a disaster for both sides. It really is. Maloney, I'll never get over. I don't understand why he's been sacked so soon. I really don't. I thought he would have been given a summer to work with the side and make signings and such. Obviously not. He's gone. So we'll see who comes in there. Tony Mowbray, his name was getting shouted with the Hibs job. That'd be a fantastic appointment in my opinion. Despite obviously his tenure at Celtic. And St Johnstone and St Mirren, wow, I don't know why I had St Mirren in the top half. I've just got this weird thing where I'm like, St Mirren can do well. They didn't do too well. They're also going through a bit of a change just now with Stephen Robinson coming in. And St Johnstone, what happened there? What happened there? And of course, first and second, I had Rangers to win the league. For the first time in my YouTube career, I predicted Rangers to win the league. And they didn't. I'm glad they never. controversial opinion. I thought that would have been quite funny to look back on, and it was. I enjoyed that. What a howler I had this year. Maybe I'll just pack it in with the start of season predictions. Hopefully my F1 predictions do a bit better. But even at that, they're not going well so far either. I'm really not good at this prediction stuff, am I? And that'll do it for today in terms of main channel stuff. Podcast filming tonight. Make sure to get involved. Go over to the Celic Podcast Twitter account. I'll leave it in the comment or the description below at Celic Podcast, and you can vote for all of our end of season awards. It includes Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year, Signing of the Season, Leninism of the Season. If you don't know what that is, just go and look. Yeah, we're fun. Certain tie event, isn't it? So make sure you go and check that out. But thank you as always for watching this video. Thank you for the support throughout the entirety of 21-22. We will be talking all week about what to expect, what's next, what's happening during the summer. This is only the start of the week, so hopefully you've enjoyed what I have given you. Like and subscribe. See you next time.